Have you ever felt invisible in your own marriage, just because someone else decided to cross a line? The soft hum of the city filtered through the double-paned windows of Amelia Calderon's apartment, mingling with the aroma of dark roast coffee and fresh sourdough. It was a rare Saturday morning, one where she and Ethan could move at their own pace, the world beyond their cozy kitchen slipping away behind the gentle clatter of plates and the shuffle of slippers on hardwood. Sunlight spilled over the granite countertops, illuminating boxes from last night's late grocery run and the unopened package that sat squarely in the center of the island. Amelia ran her fingers over the cardboard seams, hesitant. The package was heavy, wrapped in floral paper, the kind that tried too hard to look casual. She didn't need to check the handwriting on the attached card to know who it was from. Ethan, already halfway through his mug, grinned. "Should we open it?" She hesitated, her thumb tracing the edge of the note. "You know I asked her to stop." He shrugged, easygoing as always, his blue-gray eyes flicking from the box to her. "It's probably something practical. Mom likes practical. Let's at least see what it is." Amelia forced a smile. She admired Ethan's optimism, the way he could find the bright side in anything. But when it came to Lorraine Blake, his mother, optimism often meant ignoring the subtle intrusions that had become more frequent since their wedding 2 years ago. Amelia peeled back the paper, careful not to tear it, revealing a gleaming stand mixer, industrial size, far too large for their modest apartment kitchen. The card, written in precise looping script, read, "For all the baking you'll do for our family someday." She turned the note over in her hand, her lips pressing into a line. "We don't even have space for this." Ethan laughed, oblivious to the tension. "We'll figure it out. She means well." It was always that. She means well. But Amelia felt the weight of expectation in Lorraine's gifts, each one a nudge toward a future she hadn't signed up for. She wanted to believe Lorraine's intentions were pure, but each present, each suggestion, carried a message. "You're not doing enough. You're not the wife I imagined." The intercom buzzed, slicing through the morning calm. Ethan set down his mug. "I'll get it." Amelia's stomach tightened. No one visited this early on the weekends. No one except Lorraine. Sure enough, moments later, the door swung open and Lorraine Blake swept in, a gust of Chanel No. 5 and brisk efficiency. "Good morning, darlings. I brought fresh bagels. Amelia, I know you said you were cutting carbs, but you have to indulge sometimes." Lorraine moved through the kitchen with the confidence of someone who had once owned the space, placing a bakery bag on the counter and surveying the scene. Her eyes landed on the mixer, and she smiled, satisfied. "I see you got my gift. Isn't it just perfect for the holidays? I thought maybe it would inspire you to try that cinnamon roll recipe I sent." Amelia masked her irritation with practiced politeness. "Thank you, Lorraine. It's very generous." Lorraine's silver-streaked hair was meticulously styled, her lipstick flawless. She wore her confidence like armor, every gesture purposeful. Her gaze lingered on Ethan, softening, then flicked to Amelia, appraising. "It's important to have the right tools," Lorraine declared, unpacking the bagels. "When Ethan was little, I always made everything from scratch. Keeps a family together." Ethan chuckled, already halfway to the fridge. "Mom, we'll have to find space. Amelia's system is pretty organized." Lorraine's face tightened, but only for a heartbeat. "Well, you can always reorganize. It's good to have a fresh perspective." Amelia felt the familiar sting of being managed. She busied herself with coffee, trying to steady her breathing, counting to 5 as she exhaled. The apartment, her sanctuary, suddenly felt smaller, the walls inching closer. As Lorraine filled the silence with stories of neighborhood gossip and the latest from her garden club, Amelia's phone buzzed on the counter. Priya's name flashed across the screen. Her best friend since college, her touchstone. Stepping into the living room, Amelia answered the video call. Priya's face appeared, framed by the soft light of her own kitchen. "Hey, stranger," Priya grinned, mug in hand. "How's your weekend?" Amelia angled the camera, lowering her voice. "Lorraine's here. She brought another gift." Priya's eyebrows shot up. Let me guess. Another suggestion for your life? Amelia nodded, voice barely above a whisper. A stand mixer, and a commentary on my carb intake. Priya's laugh was a lifeline. Classic Lorraine. You want me to fake an emergency and get you out of there? Amelia smiled, warmth blooming in her chest. Tempting. I just wish Ethan would see it. He acts like it's nothing. Priya's expression softened. You've talked to him, right? Every time it's the same. She means well. I'm starting to feel like I'm the problem for not being grateful. Priya shook her head. You are not the problem, but you need to make your boundaries clear, to both of them. Before Amelia could respond, Lorraine's voice rang from the kitchen. Amelia, dear, are you coming back? I wanted to talk to you about your job. Amelia shot Priya a look. Here we go. She returned to the kitchen, phone tucked away. Lorraine was perched on a stool, slicing a bagel with practiced ease. So, Amelia, how's work these days? Still at that creative agency, right? Amelia nodded, keeping her tone neutral. Yes, I just finished a big project. My team did really well. Lorraine pursed her lips, as if weighing her words. That's wonderful, but careers are important only for so long. I always say, a woman's real legacy is her family. Have you two given any thought to starting one? Ethan, caught off guard, fumbled with the cream cheese. Mom? Lorraine pressed on, her gaze intent. You're not getting any younger, sweetheart. And Ethan always loved children? I just worry you'll miss your window if you focus too much on work. The air thickened. Amelia felt the heat rising in her cheeks, a mix of anger and humiliation. She glanced at Ethan, looking for support. He offered an apologetic smile. Mom, don't worry. We're happy. We'll figure it out. Lorraine shrugged, undeterred. I'm just saying, you don't want to wake up one day and realize you missed your chance. Careers come and go, but family, that's forever. Amelia's hands shook as she poured herself more coffee, her knuckles pale against the mug. She wanted to scream, to shout that her life was hers to build, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she swallowed her frustration, smoothing her features into a mask of civility. Ethan tried to diffuse the tension, making a joke about Lorraine's cinnamon rolls, but the damage was done. The apartment, once warm and inviting, now felt like a stage. Every gesture, every word, scrutinized. As Lorraine chatted on, oblivious to the discomfort she'd sown, Amelia drifted into her thoughts. She replayed the conversation, searching for the moment she could have spoken up, wondering if she'd ever be brave enough to do so. After Lorraine finally left, with a promise to drop by again next week, Amelia collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion settling in her bones. Ethan joined her, his hand finding hers. She just worries about us, he said quietly. Amelia stared at the ceiling, fighting tears. It's not about worry, Ethan. It's about respect. I need you to see that. He squeezed her hand, but the silence between them said everything. That night, as the city lights blinked outside their window and the hum of passing cars faded, Amelia lay awake, Lorraine's words echoing in her mind. She felt alone, adrift in a life that was supposed to be hers. She wondered how much more she could take before she broke. If my husband won't stand up for me, what am I supposed to do? Text on screen. What would you do in Amelia's place? Let us know in the comments. The next morning, Amelia awoke to a quiet apartment, the kind of quiet that always felt a little too heavy after Lorraine's visits. She moved through the sunlit rooms, her slippers brushing against the cool floorboards, collecting mugs and tidying the living room. The kitchen table still held the remnants of Lorraine's helpfulness. A new potted orchid in the center, the napkin holder moved to the opposite end, and a stack of cookbooks Lorraine had insisted Amelia borrow. Ethan wandered in, stretching and smiling. Hey, he said, voice warm but distracted as he reached for the coffee maker. Did you see Mom left us banana bread? Amelia forced a smile. Yeah, I saw. She really made herself at home. She's just trying to help. You know how she is. That was the problem, Amelia thought. She did know how Lorraine was: insistent, opinionated, and always a little too present. The memory of yesterday's breakfast hovered in her mind. Lorraine's casual comments about Amelia's job, the way she'd lingered on the word family, her suggestion that maybe Amelia was working too hard for a woman her age. Amelia tried to shake it off. She had work to focus on, a big presentation for a potential new client. She needed to keep her mind clear. But as she gathered her laptop and notes, she noticed Lorraine had rearranged her workspace, moving her folders into a neat pile and placing a motivational quote card front and center. "The best investment is in your family." It was subtle, but unmistakable. Amelia's space wasn't hers anymore. By midweek, Lorraine's presence seemed to echo through every corner of their lives. Text messages arrived at all hours, suggestions for new recipes, links to parenting blogs, reminders about family events. On Tuesday, Lorraine called while Amelia was in the middle of a client call, her ringtone echoing urgently across the apartment. Ethan answered in the other room, his voice low and cheerful as he promised they'd stop by soon. That evening, Amelia found her favorite mug missing from its usual spot. In its place was a pastel ceramic cup, the one Lorraine had brought from her own kitchen. "I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of home here," Lorraine had said, beaming. Amelia's lips pressed into a thin line as she rummaged through the cabinets. She tried to talk to Ethan about it, choosing her words carefully. "I know your mom means well, but it feels like she's making decisions for us, without asking." Ethan hesitated, rubbing the back of his neck. "She just cares. She wants us to be comfortable. Maybe try to see it from her perspective?" Amelia's heart sank. "What about my perspective?" He reached for her hand, but she pulled away, frustration simmering beneath her calm exterior. She went to bed early that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer she could keep swallowing her discomfort. Thursday arrived with a nervous buzz. Amelia's big presentation was scheduled for that afternoon, an opportunity she'd been working toward for months. She dressed carefully, double-checking her slides, feeling a rare surge of confidence. As she was about to leave, her phone chimed with a message from Lorraine. "Excited to see your presentation today. I'll be there at noon. Don't worry, I won't embarrass you. Love, Mom." Amelia's stomach dropped. She hadn't invited Lorraine. She'd barely mentioned the presentation at all. At the office, the open-plan workspace buzzed with activity. Sunlight streamed in through tall windows, casting geometric patterns on the polished concrete floors. Amelia greeted her colleagues, trying to mask her anxiety. As noon approached, she glanced at the entrance every few minutes, hoping Lorraine would change her mind. But at 12:04, Lorraine arrived, all smiles and bright floral prints. "Amelia, you look so professional," she announced, loud enough for everyone nearby to turn and stare. Amelia swallowed her embarrassment. "Hi, Lorraine. Didn't expect you today." "I wouldn't miss it for the world. Your first big pitch. I brought cookies for your team, too." Her colleagues exchanged glances. Amelia smiled tightly, guiding Lorraine to a seat at the back. The presentation began. Amelia powered through her slides, fielding questions with practiced poise. But halfway through, Lorraine raised her hand, interrupting. "I just wanted to say, Amelia's always been a bit of a perfectionist, sometimes too hard on herself. Maybe you could give her some feedback on work-life balance." The room went silent. Amelia's cheeks flushed. She stammered out a reply, forcing a laugh, desperate to regain control. Afterward, her manager offered a polite smile. "Your mom's enthusiastic. Good job handling it." Amelia thanked her, her insides twisting. As she gathered her things, Lorraine approached, beaming. "You did well, sweetheart. I just want people to see how wonderful you are. Maybe next time you could talk more about how your work fits into your family goals." Amelia's voice was strained. "Lorraine, I appreciate you coming, but next time I'd like to do it on my own." Lorraine blinked, surprised. "I was only trying to help. No need to be so sensitive." That evening, Amelia recounted the story to Ethan as they ate dinner on the couch. The TV played quietly in the background, a half-hearted attempt at normalcy. "She embarrassed me in front of my team," Amelia said, her fork motionless in her hand. "She crossed a line, Ethan." Ethan looked uncomfortable. "I'm sure she didn't mean it that way. She just wants you to succeed." Amelia's frustration boiled over. "Why do you always defend her? What about how I feel?" He set his plate down, voice tense. "I'm not defending anyone. I just think sometimes you overreact." She stared at him, stunned. For a moment, the apartment felt unbearably small. The next day, desperate for clarity, Amelia texted her best friend Priya. "Can we meet for coffee? Need to talk." Priya replied immediately. "Of course. I'm at Brew and Bloom. Come by when you can." Brew and Bloom was a bustling downtown cafe, all exposed brick and hanging plants, the air thick with the scent of espresso and cinnamon. Amelia spotted Priya near the window, laptop open, a warm smile on her face. She slid into the seat across from her, exhaustion etched in every line of her posture. Priya listened as Amelia recounted everything: Lorraine's unannounced visits, the constant texts, the work presentation disaster, Ethan's refusal to take her side. "Have you told Ethan how this really makes you feel?" Priya asked gently, her voice low over the hum of conversation. "I've tried," Amelia replied, wrapping her hands around her coffee cup. "He thinks I'm making a big deal out of nothing. He keeps saying she means well, but I feel like I'm losing my own space, my own voice." Priya nodded. "It's not about the banana bread or the mug. It's about boundaries. You deserve to have your home and your marriage respected. Maybe he doesn't realize how much this is hurting you." Amelia stared out at the street, watching people hurry by in the golden light of late afternoon. "I just never thought I'd have to fight for my own place in my life." Priya squeezed her hand. "You're not alone. If you need me, I'm here. And if you need to talk to Ethan again, be honest. Don't downplay it. This is your life, too." Amelia nodded, feeling a flicker of resolve. But as she walked home through the vibrant streets of Austin, passing murals and food trucks and couples laughing on benches, a question gnawed at her. If Ethan couldn't see her side, what hope did she have for real change? That night, the apartment felt colder than usual. Amelia busied herself with chores, wiping down counters and rearranging the living room, her attempt to reclaim her space, if only for a moment. Ethan worked late, texting her quick updates, each one more distracted than the last. She sat on the balcony, city lights blinking in the distance, and let her thoughts unravel. How much longer could she put up with being second in her own life? She wanted her marriage, her home, to feel like hers again. If you're finding this story relatable, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones that happen behind closed doors. Will Amelia find the courage to stand up for herself? And will Ethan finally listen? Stick around to see how this journey unfolds. The golden late afternoon sun slanted through Lorraine Blake's bay windows, casting honey-colored stripes across the polished dining table. The table was set with the formality of a Thanksgiving feast: porcelain platters, crystal glasses, and napkin rings shaped like little autumn leaves. Amelia Calderon stood at the edge of the living room, shoulders taut, her breath shallow beneath the soft fabric of her blue dress. She heard Ethan's easy laugh from the kitchen, blending with the clatter of serving spoons and Lorraine's orchestrated instructions. "Ethan, honey, could you bring out the roasted carrots?" Lorraine called, her voice as bright as the chandelier overhead. Amelia smoothed her skirt, fingers trembling. Lorraine had insisted on celebrating Amelia's recent promotion, an event that should have been intimate, but now felt suspiciously performative. Lorraine had planned every detail, from the color-coordinated table runner to the guest list, which, apart from Ethan's sister and her husband, was mostly Lorraine's friends and neighbors, people Amelia barely knew. Amelia caught her reflection in the hallway mirror, eyes rimmed with fatigue, jaw set with determination. She'd rehearsed what she would say if Lorraine crossed another line. She was tired of feeling like a guest in her own life. The doorbell rang, and Lorraine floated past, trailing lavender perfume. Oh, that must be the Bensons. Amelia, would you mind pouring more punch? Lorraine's smile was practiced and tight, her eyes scanning Amelia's posture. You look nice tonight. That's a good color for you. It's so important to dress up for family occasions, don't you think? Amelia forced a smile. Thank you, Lorraine. She moved to the sideboard and filled pitchers with iced tea and cranberry punch, listening to the flow of guests. Hugs, laughter, platitudes. Ethan drifted over, placing a comforting hand on her back. We'll get through this, he murmured, but his voice lacked conviction. Dinner began with toasts, Lorraine's voice rising above the clink of glasses. To Amelia, for her, well, advancement. We're so proud, aren't we, Ethan? Ethan nodded, a little too eagerly. Amelia smiled, cheeks burning. Platters circulated. Conversation ebbed and flowed. Lorraine steered every topic back to Amelia's life, her work hours, her quirky routines, her unusual organizational style at home. At some point you'll have to slow down, Lorraine announced, slicing into her chicken breast. It's not healthy for a woman to be so busy. I only say this because I care. Ethan, you want your wife to have time for herself, don't you? Ethan hesitated, eyes darting to Amelia. We manage. Amelia likes her job. Lorraine's lips thinned. She reached for the breadbasket, passing it to Amelia with just a bit too much force. Of course. But don't you ever think about, oh, I don't know, what comes next? A home is more than a place to sleep, you know. It's about family. The table fell silent. Amelia's pulse thudded in her ears. She set her fork down, careful not to let her frustration show. I appreciate your concern, Lorraine. But Ethan and I have talked about all of this. Lorraine leaned in, her gaze sharp. Sometimes talking isn't enough. Sometimes you have to act. That's why A sudden nervous laugh from Ethan's sister cut through the tension. Mom, let's not... But Lorraine continued, undeterred. Amelia, I know you've been overwhelmed at work. So, I reached out to a few friends. There are some wonderful opportunities out there, less demanding, better for starting a family. I've actually set up a couple of informational interviews for you. Next week, in fact. Amelia's heart dropped. She stared at the tablecloth, the pattern blurring. You... what? Lorraine smiled, triumphant. You'll thank me later. Sometimes you just need a little push to see what's best. Ethan's face blanched. Mom, you didn't... Lorraine shrugged, as if arranging interviews behind Amelia's back was the most natural thing in the world. I know people. They're just conversations. No harm done. Amelia clenched her hands in her lap. The room seemed to contract, the air thick and unyielding. She felt every eye at the table on her, waiting for her response. She pushed her chair back, the scrape echoing in the silence. Excuse me, she said, voice tight. She glanced at Ethan, who looked stricken, and walked stiffly toward the patio doors. The backyard air was cool and sharp, scented with freshly cut grass and the distant hum of cicadas. Amelia pressed her palms to the railing, fighting the sting of angry tears. Her mind spun. Lorraine's interference, Ethan's silence, the overwhelming sense of betrayal. A moment later, the door slid open behind her. Ethan stepped out, hands jammed in his pockets. Amelia. She turned, her voice low but trembling. How could she do that? How could you let her? Ethan's eyes darted away. I didn't know. I swear I had no idea she'd go that far. Amelia shook her head, lips trembling. But this isn't the first time, Ethan. She rearranges our apartment, critiques everything I do, and you just... let her. You tell me to ignore it, that she means well. But this is my career, my life. She went behind my back, and you're still just standing there. Ethan's shoulders sagged. Amelia, it's not that simple. She's my mom. She's always been like this. She thinks she's helping. I don't want to hurt her. I thought if I didn't make it a big deal, she'd stop eventually. Amelia's laugh was bitter. She's not stopping. She's getting worse. And you're not just not hurting her. You're hurting me. I feel like I'm fighting for space in my own marriage. Ethan rubbed his face, frustration etched into his jaw. I know. I freeze up, okay? When she gets like that, I feel like I'm 12 again, trying not to disappoint her. But it's not fair to you. I see that now. I don't know how to stand up to her. Amelia swallowed hard. You have to learn. Because if you don't, I can't keep doing this. I'm not asking you to choose. I'm asking you to choose us. To choose our marriage, our future, even if it means having a difficult conversation with your mom. Ethan looked away, jaw clenched, eyes shining with unshed tears. You're right. I've been avoiding this for too long. A beat passed, the distant laughter from inside muffled by the glass. Amelia's breath fogged in the cooling air. She waited, uncertain, hope and dread tangled in her chest. Ethan finally looked at her, resolve flickering in his gaze. I'll talk to her. Tonight. I promise. I'm sorry I let it get this far. Amelia nodded, her own eyes wet. Thank you. I just need to know you're on my side, that we're a team. He reached for her hand, squeezing it tight. We are. I'll prove it. Inside, Lorraine's laughter rang out again, the sound brittle against the quiet of the yard. Ethan let go and squared his shoulders. Let's go back in. I need to talk to her. They re-entered the dining room, hand in hand. Lorraine looked up, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her features as she registered the shift in Ethan's expression. He cleared his throat, voice steady. Mom, can we talk? Privately. The room fell into an uneasy silence, forks pausing midair. Lorraine blinked, her composure slipping. Of course, dear. As they left for the study, Amelia caught the worried glance from Ethan's sister, the sidelong stares from Lorraine's friends. She sat back at the table, heart pounding, every muscle taut with anticipation. From down the hall, muffled voices rose and fell, Ethan's measured but firm, Lorraine's incredulous, then wounded. Amelia couldn't make out the words, but she saw the consequences echo across the faces of those left at the table. Sympathy, surprise, discomfort. 10 minutes later, Ethan and Lorraine returned. Lorraine's face was pale, her lips pressed into a thin line. Ethan's arm hovered protectively at Amelia's back as he spoke, his voice clear and unwavering. We need to make some changes, Ethan announced, his gaze locked on his mother. Amelia and I are building our life together. We appreciate your care, but we need space to make our own choices. That means no more interfering in Amelia's job or our home. We'll invite you in when we need help. Please, respect our boundaries. The silence was so thick it seemed to hum. Lorraine opened her mouth, but Ethan shook his head gently. I mean it, Mom. Lorraine's eyes glistened, her pride dented, but she nodded stiffly. I understand. Amelia exhaled, relief mingling with the ache of the confrontation. She looked at Ethan, gratitude and love flickering in her gaze. For the first time, she felt seen. Her voice finally carried weight, not just in her career, but in her own home. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Polite conversation, forced smiles, Lorraine subdued but civil. Ethan stayed by Amelia's side, their connection newly solidified. Later, as they drove home through the darkened streets of Austin, city lights flickering on the windshield, Ethan reached across the console and took Amelia's hand. I should have done that a long time ago, he said softly. Amelia smiled, tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. We did it together. Outside, the city pulsed with quiet energy. Inside their car, something fragile and vital had been reclaimed. But as they pulled into their apartment parking lot, Amelia's phone buzzed. A text from Lorraine. We need to talk. Alone. Amelia stared at the message, the night suddenly heavy with possibility. Would Lorraine truly respect their boundaries? Or was this just the beginning of a new battle? The answer, Amelia knew, would shape everything that came next. A hush fell over Lorraine's dining room after the confrontation in the backyard, a tension so thick you could almost hear it humming beneath the polite conversation. Amelia sat beside Ethan, her heart racing, her mind replaying the words she'd finally said to him. "If you don't stand with me, I'm standing alone." She reached beneath the polished oak table, feeling for Ethan's hand. To her surprise, he squeezed her fingers in return, firm, present, almost apologetic. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Lorraine's attempts at small talk felt brittle, her comments less pointed but no less present. When dessert was served, Ethan caught Amelia's eye. With a small nod, he let her know they were leaving together. And this time, not just physically. The drive home was silent at first, the city lights flickering over the car dashboard. Amelia stared out the window, clutching her purse, as Ethan navigated the familiar streets back to their apartment. The words she'd rehearsed all week crowded her throat, but she held them back. She needed to hear his first. Finally, Ethan's voice cut through the quiet. "I'm sorry," he said, his hands tight around the steering wheel. "I should have listened sooner. I think I've been avoiding conflict for so long. I couldn't see what it was costing us." Amelia let out a shaky breath, feeling the weight of weeks, months, begin to lift. "She's your mom, Ethan. I get that. But I need to feel like you and I are a team. I need to know you hear me, even if it's hard." He nodded, pulling into their parking spot. "I do hear you. I want things to change. For both of us." They climbed the stairs to their apartment side by side, the air finally free of tension. Inside, Amelia shed her coat and shoes, sinking onto the living room couch as Ethan joined her. He turned toward her, earnest and open in a way he hadn't been in a long time. "I'm going to have a real conversation with her," he promised. "About boundaries, about us. I'll make it clear that our marriage comes first, and that her help isn't help if it hurts you." Amelia nodded, relief and anxiety warring inside her. "Can I be part of that conversation?" she asked quietly. "I want her to see me too. Not just as your wife, but as someone who deserves respect in her own right." Ethan smiled. "Absolutely." The next day, the city was washed in golden morning light, birdsong drifting in through the open window. Amelia found herself at their kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee, as Ethan texted Lorraine to ask her over. The wait was nerve-wracking. Amelia paced the hallway, replaying possible scenarios in her mind. But when Lorraine finally arrived, she looked more reserved than usual, her eyes searching Ethan's face for clues. They sat together in the living room, Lorraine on the edge of the armchair, Ethan and Amelia on the couch, united. Ethan cleared his throat. "Mom, we need to talk about some boundaries," he began, voice steady. "I know you care about us, but some of your actions have made Amelia feel uncomfortable and unappreciated. We need you to respect our space and our decisions, even when they're different from what you'd choose." Lorraine bristled, her hands twisting in her lap. "I only want what's best for you, Ethan. For both of you." Amelia leaned forward, her tone gentle but unwavering. "We know you care. But I need you to understand. I'm building a life with Ethan. I have goals and routines that matter to me. When you rearrange things in our home or make plans without asking, it makes me feel invisible." There was a long pause. Lorraine's gaze flicked between the two of them, her expression unreadable. For a moment, Amelia feared another defensive retort, another round of justification. But then Lorraine's shoulders sagged and her voice softened. "I suppose I've been overstepping," she admitted, the words coming out slowly, as if each one cost her something. "It's just hard, letting go. Watching you both make choices I might not have made. But I never wanted to hurt you, Amelia." Amelia's breath caught. She hadn't expected this. An opening. Small but real. "I appreciate that, Lorraine," she said. "But we need to set some ground rules. No more unannounced visits. No rearranging our things. And if you have advice, please ask if we want it before sharing. We want you in our lives, but as a supporter, not as someone who takes over." Ethan reached for Amelia's hand, anchoring her. "We love you, Mom, but we need you to respect us as a couple." Lorraine's eyes glistened. Not quite tears, but close. "I think I can do that," she whispered. "I want to try." The conversation was awkward at times, a few sidelong glances, a couple of stilted silences, but by the end, something had shifted. Lorraine agreed to boundaries. Amelia felt seen, not just heard, and Ethan, for the first time in months, looked at his wife with a quiet pride. After Lorraine left, Amelia and Ethan sat in the golden afternoon light, letting relief wash over them. There would be bumps, sure. No family dynamic changed overnight. But a door had opened, and for the first time, Amelia felt hope, not dread, when she thought of her mother-in-law. Days passed. Lorraine respected their boundaries, texting before visiting, asking before giving advice. She even invited Amelia for coffee, just the two of them, in a sunny corner cafe. The conversation was tentative, but honest. Lorraine asked about Amelia's work, her dreams, her plans, and, most importantly, she listened. Amelia found herself relaxing, her guard dropping bit by bit. With Ethan's support and her own newfound assertiveness, she realized she could carve out space for herself in this family without losing who she was. One evening, Amelia called Priya, her best friend, sharing everything. "Wow," Priya said, her voice warm with pride. "You really did it, Amelia. You stood up for yourself and your marriage." Amelia smiled, a new confidence shining in her eyes. "I did. And Ethan did too. I think we're finally on the same team." Priya laughed. "It's so easy to just keep the peace instead of making real change. But you chose courage. That's huge." That night, as the city lights twinkled outside their window, Amelia and Ethan cooked dinner together. No interruptions, no unsolicited advice. Just the quiet rhythm of two people rediscovering each other. They talked about travel plans, new hobbies, even dreams for the future. For the first time, every word felt like it belonged to them. Amelia realized something important. You can set boundaries and still have love. You can assert yourself and still be kind. Real change takes time, but it starts with honesty and the willingness to have hard conversations. And maybe, just maybe, you can teach people how to treat you, one step at a time. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family, especially in a relationship? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments below. I promise you're not alone. If this story resonated with you or made you think differently about your own relationships, go ahead and give this video a like. And if you want more real-life stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Thank you for spending this time with me. And remember, your voice matters, your boundaries matter, and you deserve to be seen.